But before we get down to discussing India's squad, that has been one of the most talked one in recent times, let's have a look at Aprilia's latest offering, the SXR 160.
You're late.
Don't just live life, maxify it.
Style, performance, and extraordinary comfort. That's what the SXR 160 has, much like some of the players in India's squad for the series against South Africa. On this edition of the Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia, I have with me Ananya Upendran. Ananya, let's dive into it. The first thing, of course, is not about who are there in the squad, but the exclusions that have been the talking point that have raised a few eyebrows. Shikha Pandey, Ekta Bisht, Tanya Bhatia are three of those who are not in the squad apart from Veda Krishnamurthy and Anuja Patil. You'd made a video essay a couple of days back. Your thoughts on the exclusions?
Well, I remember when I first saw the squad, it was just a feeling of shock, and I wasn't really. I kept rubbing my eyes to see whether I was seeing right, whether I was missing something. I went back to the press release to see whether there was a statement about why these players were left out, and I'm still trying to get over it because all three, the three that I mentioned in the video, Ekta Bisht, Shikha Pandey, and Tanya Bhatia have been central figures of that ODI side for the last 2-3 years. And I think in 2019 was when we saw the best of Shikha Pandey. We saw that her come to the fore and really lead that attack going into that T20 World Cup. I think she really stepped up her game. Came out of the shadow of Jhulan Goswami. I think, for a number of years since her debut, she's kind of been, bowling with that cloud over her shoulder of not really knowing how she should bowl. And I think the last couple of years, she's really come into her own. And the same for Ekta Bisht and Tanya Bhatia. I think Ekta has been one of India's best and most consistent bowlers over the last few years. She's, closing in on 100 wickets. If she gets 4 more wickets, I think in the next couple of games, she will be the fastest to that mark. So, it's just kind of beyond belief that they've missed out. I think Tanya has been excellent behind the stumps. She's been one of the reasons that the spinners have been so effective. Her nifty glove work. I think she's one of the best keepers in the world standing up to the stumps, probably very, very close to someone like Amy Jones. I think she's better than Alyssa Healy and Trisha Chetty standing up to the stumps. Yes, her work standing back to the seamers probably requires a bit of work, but I think, she's proven to be one of the best wicket keepers going around. Her batting, I've said this before, I think Tanya Bhatia has a lot of skill as a batter. She has a great temperament. She's very feisty, but the thing is she hasn't really batted in a consistent position. So to expect a youngster who still kind of, hasn't found that confidence batting at international level, it's kind of harsh on her. So yeah, those three exclusions I was very surprised by. I think Veda's has had a pretty long run in that lower middle order. I know, sometimes it can be a tough call to drop someone of her experience who has proven to be a match winner over a long period of time. But, I think for a while now she's been hanging by a thread, and no disrespect. Hasn't shown the results at international level. So those exclusions I wasn't really surprised by.
It's been some time since the squad was announced. Did you kind of get your head around what the criteria for selection has been? You can't look at these exclusions, all of these exclusions, in fact, and say they're all age. The age is the criteria. Nor can you look at the performances or the non-performances and say that performance seems to be criteria. Could you, as someone who follows the game very closely and also analyzes it like none other, could you kind of come down to a reason or a reason as to why these people were excluded, or on what basis was the squad selected?
Honestly, a truthful answer would be no. I haven't been able to find a logical reason as to why these exclusions were made. But I kind of understand the probably the need to, or the desire to try a few young faces going into a home season. I think, a lot of senior players have spoken about how it's always best to kind of blood young players at home. in familiar conditions. So that's probably something that they've looked at as to, giving these youngsters a chance at home. India have been trying to build a solid pace contingent for a while. They haven't quite been able to, I suppose, at home play anyone other than Jhulan and Shikha Pandey. So, I think that this is probably an attempt to find someone to shore up that pace contingent beyond that, because when Neetu David took over, they did mention that they would want to strengthen that pace contingent. So that's the only reason I see in my head. But, again, going into a World Cup year, we're barely 12 months from the World Cup. So, I think your best players should get as much cricket as possible, especially when they haven't played for 12 months. So, logically, I couldn't find an explanation, but I mean, this is the only way I can explain any of the decisions that have been made.
1 week from now, the domestic one-day matches begin, and expect them to put up fighting performances there. Let's move on now to India's ODI squad. Let's have that on the screen. It's familiar faces first: Mithali Raj, Jhulan Goswami, Poonam Raut, Priya Punia, Harmanpreet Kaur, Deepti, Jemima. All these names are there. We talked about fast bowling. Let's begin with that aspect first. Yes, there's no Shikha Pandey, but there's Jhulan Goswami and two relatively new people in Mansi Joshi and Monika Patel. Mansi Joshi, I say relatively new because she's played less number of matches and has been out of the national side for some time now. Ananya, hashtag team Fraser first of all, but added responsibility on Jhulan Goswami?
Oh, definitely added responsibility. I mean, it's something that she's gotten used to over a career that has spanned so long. So I don't think it's anything new for her. But, going in against South Africa, when I was researching for that video, I was looking at the numbers, and Shikha Pandey's numbers against South Africa are just astounding. She's dismissed the combination of Lee and Woolwart 9 times in 14 games. So, she is one of India's biggest weapons in against South Africa. So I'm sure Jhulan Goswami will know that, she has to strike early, because people like Lee and Woolwart, if they get going, they're really hard to stop, even against the quality spin. So she'll definitely know that she has to, kind of bear the brunt of that pace attack that she's done for many, many years. But I think this is a great opportunity for someone like Mansi Joshi to kind of cement that third seamer slot, because she has, like you said, been in and around the squad for a long time now, hasn't got consistent game time, has been dropped, has been injured. So, I think this is a great opportunity for her to come in as, and, probably make a case as a frontline seamer for India, because she is someone who bowls with a decent amount of pace. She's got a slingy action, gets the ball to move early. So great opportunity for her. And for someone like Monika Patel, who's very young in her domestic career as well, a left-arm seamer. So I think that's what has really stood out about Monika. She is a left-arm seamer. There is a dearth of that in domestic cricket. Off the top of my head, I can only remember 4 left-arm seamers in domestic cricket at the minute. So, it's something that the selectors have definitely seen. I saw her in Bhubaneswar. I don't think she was at her best. I remember Monika Patel as a 16-year-old bowling pretty quick for a 16-year-old in the under-19 competition. She seems to have lost a little bit of pace, but I think, by losing that, she's probably has a bit more control, I think. So, hopefully she gets to learn a lot from these two. I'm not sure whether she will get a game, but I think it's a great opportunity to learn and, of course, take that back into domestic cricket and work on her game.
Of course, 5 ODIs before 3 T20s. So those are the 8 games in this series. But I always love left-arm seam options, because that kind of gives you a different angle when a majority of them in the world are right-handers. But let's talk about Yastika Bhatia and Shweta Verma, the wicket-keeper, who have been included. A couple of interesting names, these, because we've seen, like, your numbers also showed that there are wicket keepers with better numbers. Shweta Verma has come in. Yastika Bhatia, of course, is the left-handed opener. Your thoughts about these two getting a look in the Indian squad?
Well, as far as Yastika is concerned, I mean, again, seeing her progress through under-19 cricket, there was always this, I suppose, it felt foregone that she would play for India. because you could see that class, you could see that ability from a very young age, and she has a very, very good temperament. That's something that's really stood out about Yastika, whether she's playing T20 one day or 2-day or 3-day cricket. She has the ability to play a long innings, anchor the innings, and I think she's got a very good head on her shoulders. She sometimes tends to put a bit too much pressure on herself because she is as good as she is and she wants to consistently score big runs. But I think she's done well for India. She had that experience in Australia, scored I think a 40 odd in one of the games, and I think she's kind of finding that consistency a little bit. I watched her in Bhubaneswar as well during that T20 Challenger, and she opened in one of the games alongside Shikha Verma. And you'd normally think that if you're batting alongside Shikha Verma, you're going to get overshadowed. But I remember Yastika playing some excellent shots, especially against the spinners, coming down the track, hitting through covers, and she is graceful as any left-hander is. So, for me, I think I'm very excited to see what she brings to this side. Like I said, she's a very, very good player, and this felt inevitable if you watched Yastika through that. Progress through age group cricket. So I'm not at all surprised that she's made it to the international team. As far as Shweta Verma is concerned, like you said, the numbers, at least the runs, don't exactly back her. But she has been a consistent member of that Uttar Pradesh senior team for a long time. She's played for Central Zone for quite a few years now. So she has, I suppose, the keeping numbers behind her. She is someone who has been spoken about highly in Uttar Pradesh cricket. So, I'm sure they've seen something in her, because these calls are not, of course, taken lightly. So, while she doesn't have the runs under her belt, I'm sure she brings something to the table. And there is C. Pratyusha as well. I think Pratyusha and Shweta are two players who, they are very, very feisty players. They don't necessarily have the height and the build to look like they're going to intimidate you. But I think both of them have a lot of fight in them. And that's probably something that's played a role in their selection, because Pratyusha, again, very tiny leg spinner, gives the ball a lot of air, but she's one of those players who's always going to be in your face. She loves the competition. She loves the challenge of bowling to aggressive batters. So again, an up and coming youngster, I think another exciting talent in Indian cricket, but I think for me, it's whether these youngsters will get a game, when they will get a game, and I think how they respond to the pressure of bowling to people like Mignon Dupri, Marizan, Kaap, who are all very good players of spin, is going to be interesting.
And I also feel that it's really good time to be a left-hander in the cricketing circuit, because we've seen New Zealand pick Brooke Halliday for her left. Of course, she's left-hander. She scored runs. Even with the Indian men's team, we've seen they're looking for left-handers who can produce runs and aggression at the top. In this women's side, there's Smriti Mandhana and Deepti Sharma, but now Yastika Bhatia's inclusion gives them an extra option. Of course, remains to be seen if she gets a game and there are more left-handers, but really good time to be a left-hander. I'm probably thinking of switching over, but another interesting pick when it comes to the Indian ODI unit is Radha Yadav, the left-arm spinner. 35 T20s is what she's played so far, out of which on 24 successive occasions, which is an unbeaten streak yet, she's picked up at least one wicket, which is a record. So confidence, yes. Performances, yes. But is it too early? Is it too late? Or is it the right time for Radha Yadav to make an impression in the one day squad? Because there's also Rajeshwari Gaikwad, the seasoned Rajeshwari Gaikwad.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any issue with the timing, because Radha has kind of found, doing well at international level. She knows what it takes to succeed at that level. And this is just a different format. She's going to get a lot more overs to bowl, probably have the time to set up a batter. So, I mean, I don't think the timing is an issue, but, I think to replace Ekta, to replace someone who bowls those pressure overs for India consistently in the power play at the death when a batter is coming at them, that's going to be probably a challenge for her. She's taken the new ball in T20 cricket. So again, she knows what it takes to succeed at international level. And honestly, I am very excited to see Radha because, I haven't seen her play too much domestic 50 over cricket because, ever since she got into the India side, she hasn't really played too much domestic cricket. So, to see her uh, I guess bowl a larger number of overs is going to be interesting because in T20 cricket you don't really have to bowl, I suppose, consistent areas. You have to be slightly unpredictable. So I think that's going to be a challenge for Radha because if you're slightly off in one day cricket, batters are going to probably cash in. If you're not consistent with your lines and lengths, they're going to cash in. So I think that's going to be a challenge for Radha. But we've seen her that she does have the ability to step up. So hopefully she gets a game through the series, and I think India will play a couple of left arm spinners at least in one game.
Yeah, Radha Yadav has performance. She gives the skipper the extraordinary comfort of bowling her in any stage of the match. And for her style quotient, maybe her Instagram profile would do more justice than my words, much like SXR 160. But here's the question. She's done so well in T20Is, and now that she's blooded in the ODI unit, is there a risk of losing Radha Yadav, the T20 bowler, when she plays the ODIs and adapts to the role? Because remember, as you mentioned, she has huge boots to fill in Ekta Bisht's absence.
I actually don't think so. I mean, I don't think they run the risk of losing Radha as an effective T20I bowler. I think this will only help her develop as a cricketer. And I think the more overs she bowls, the more game awareness, the more tactical awareness that you start reading the game better, understanding where batters are looking to hit you better. So it can only do her good.
Yeah, for those of you wondering what will be the first 11, first lineup be, everyone's on the same boat as far as that is concerned. But we talked about the exclusions. We mentioned the absence of Veda Krishnamurthy, but there's also the inclusion of Dayalan Hemalata in the ODI unit. Similar roles, you see her finisher, the finisher that the ODI unit might require, Ananya?
Yeah, I think she's going to fill that lower middle order role because through her international career, I think she's played 6 or 7 ODIs. She has batted in that lower middle order, and I remember one knock very clearly that she played against, Sri Lanka. I think she scored a 35 at number 7 coming in. Had a very good partnership with Tanya Bhatia and really upped the ante. She hit one straight 6 down the ground. So I think she's one of those batters who she's extremely good. I think she has one of the best cover drives coming in domestic cricket. And I think, if you see it in international cricket, you'll probably say that it rivals Laura Woolward's. I think she has one of the best cover drives going around. I hope she gets a bit of a long run. She's kind of been in and out of that side. And I think she's an extremely talented, extremely useful player because she bowls very, very good off spin as well. So I think in subcontinent conditions, Hemlata is going to be a very crucial player for India, and I hope she gets a bit of a long rope because I think she is someone who could fill that role that Veda used to play, and hopefully she gets chances and she's able to live up to that potential because I think the issue with Hema has been that she's been up one day and down the next, and she's a real confidence player. So I think if she gets that arm around the shoulder and people backing her, I'm sure she'll deliver for India.
Fair point that you look at the Indian squad once again, the ODI squad, before moving on to the T20s. You look at that squad and see a lot of spinners, a lot of slow bowling options, just the 3 seamers. You sift through the names and find that there's no Shikha Verma, which is a nice thread to move on to the T20I squad. Let's have a glance at the T20I squad. A bit familiar, a bit unfamiliar because there's no Tanya Bhatia, the most successful wicketkeeper for India in T20Is. There's no Shikha Pandey, of course, who was India's best seamer in the T20 World Cup last year. Ananya, Shikha Verma once again will be the key, I suppose, but there are some new names in the T20Is as well. Ayushi Soni, someone who Harmanpreet Kaur ahead of the Women's T20 Challenge talk highly about. So an inclination there. The attempt seems to be to beef the middle and lower middle order, isn't it?
Yeah, clearly is that, and before the T20 women's T20 challenge, Harman did say that India is looking for someone to play in that lower middle order to provide a bit of power, also a bit of consistency. And I think Ayushi Soni plays for Delhi in the domestic circuit, and she does play that role for Delhi in the lower middle order, bats at 5, 6, 7, and she has a great amount of power. And I think again with Ayushi, it's the temperament, it's the ability to finish games that has really stood out about her. I remember one game very clearly in Mumbai, Delhi against Railways, where Ekta Bisht was defending 10 or 8 runs off the over, and Ayushi Soni came in and hit her for 6 over long on, and Delhi won that game. And I think that's something that really stands out. She's not phased by who she's batting against. She just backs her ability, backs her power. And I think that's kind of the definition of the new generation of Indian players. They don't care who's in front of them. The bigger the name, the stronger the hit. That's the attitude. So yeah, I think again excited to see Ayushi. Harmanpreet Kaur, of course, has spoken very highly of her. So I think that means that she'll probably make her debut in this series, and so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, for those of you joining us, we are talking about India's squad for the series against South Africa. A few of you have asked us questions. We're going to take that towards the end of the show. Just hang along. But Simran Dil Bahadur, and another interesting seam bowling all-round option that India has, Monika Patel, of course, and Pratyusha C, who interestingly had a very unusual reaction to the selection news, as one of our colleagues, Gomesh, spoke to her after the selection, that she went and trained for an hour. That speaks a lot about her commitment to the game, her excitement, of course, and probably the talent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everyone speaks about this, that if you want to get to the international level, that's one thing, but then, to then go there and succeed is another. So, Pratyusha has been the kind of player who trains very hard. She's probably always at the ground. She's first to come, the last to go, the typical cliche, that template of success. So I'm not surprised. I think when you get the call up, it's great to celebrate, but you also want to feel prepared when you're going in. And this is, of course, a big step up from domestic cricket. So I mean, it's great to know that she went and trained. It's a great start for her. But you mentioned Simran Dil Bahadur, and she's another left-hand batter. Again, lower middle order, hits a very long ball. So I think that's one thing that's very clear in this Indian T20 side, is that they're looking for players who have the ability to clear the field, who play fearlessly. So again, seam bowling all rounder. So I'm excited about that. There have been quite a few picked for India. There haven't been many who have been used as all rounders. So I hope Simran is one of them, who's kind of she maintains that position as an all rounder. But I think she and Ayushi will probably be competing for very similar roles. Both Ayushi, probably Simran, and Arundhati Reddy. I think all three of them will probably be competing for similar roles in that lower middle order. So I think India's combinations in that T20 series are going to be kind of interesting.
Yeah, this seems to be the template that international sides are following right from Australia. We've seen how they've transformed after the Women's World Cup into 2017, and a few of them also spoke about how they've gone about the transformation, especially after the World Cup in last year. We've had pieces in our magazine as to they're looking at people who can play attacking brand of cricket, especially in the middle order, lower middle order, start well at the top. You look at this T20I squad, do you have that feeling as well, Ananya, that India is taking a step in right direction in terms of having people with not just one dimension, but two dimensions and an attacking batting option as well? Is that what you also sense looking at the T20I squad?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think all you have to do is look at that lineup and see the name Richa Ghosh. Richa Ghosh does everything. She bats, and she bowls, and she's a good fielder as well. So, it's clear that there is, some sort of vision with this T20 team in terms of getting three-dimensional players, and, I suppose finding people who can maximize a minimum number of balls. And Matthew Mott has spoken about this a lot. that your number sevens or eights are probably going to play at most say 8 to 10 balls a game, and you'd rather have someone who's able to score 20 to 25 runs off those balls rather than someone who's averaging 20 or 21. So you want people who are able to give the maximum output rather than those who look good. So I think India are definitely heading down that track. They're looking at multi-dimensional players who also field well, and are able to, I think, what we've seen in cricket or in international cricket is that batting is not a specialized skill. Batting is something that everyone has to do, and it's bowling that is the specialized skill. So all your batters or all your bowlers have to be able to bat. All your bowlers have to be able to contribute at least 10 to 15 runs. And clearly, when you look at this lineup, aside from Poonam Yadav and Rajeshwari Gaikwad, who are slightly dicey, I think everyone else is able to clear the boundary and can get you at least 10 to 12 runs.
Yeah, the Indian team, as far as the T20 squad is concerned, is on the lookout for multi-dimensional players. And if you are someone who's on the lookout for multi-dimensional vehicle, a two-wheeler, that I think SXR 160 should be one of those, because it has style, performance, and extraordinary comfort. Lastly, in this T20 squad, there is a familiar name in Sushma Verma. Once again, seems the way forward seems to be batting prowess, because she's done really well especially in tight chases. Not someone who would probably tee off from the word go, but someone who can reliably bat, especially in slow conditions. So this, coupled with the presence of spinners and slower bowlers, does it also tell you that it's going to be spin-friendly tracks throughout the 8 matches against South Africa?
I don't think India's team combination ever has anything to do with the tracks, because regardless of where they go, India's team is always stacked with spinners. So, we're the kind of side that's always going to back our strengths. So, as far as Sushma Varma goes, again, she's someone who's earned her recall. She's gone back to domestic cricket after getting dropped in 2018, I think it was. And she scored heavily for Himachal Pradesh. I think there was one T20 season where she scored 370 runs, was dismissed only once. So she's gone back and really worked on her batting. She's batted in the top order for Himachal Pradesh, so that she's been able to get those numbers behind her. And she's done well for India A as well against Australia. Played that knock in the T20 challenge last year, and then she had done it before in 2019 as well. 2019 as well in the finals. So. I think she's someone who's tried and tested in international cricket, but it's the fact that she's gone back, worked on what the reason that she was dropped, and come back with the numbers behind her. And the same with Nusrat Parveen. I think Nusrat Parveen had a fantastic 2019-20 domestic season. She played half the number of games everyone played, but topped the T20 run charts. Earned her recall in the Tri-Series in Australia. Of course, wasn't part of the T20 World Cup squad, but I think both those keepers, it is the runs, obviously, the number of runs they've scored that has brought their recalls. I think I'm kind of interested to see which one they pick, because, again, both have the numbers behind them. Sushma is probably the more accomplished lower order batter, and they're not going to fit in anyone at the top, so she's probably going to get the nod ahead of Nusrat. But you never know, Smriti Mandana may just say, hey, let's play Richa Ghosh as our keeper. So India are unpredictable slightly like that.
A lot of keepers, a lot of slow bowlers, a dearth of seamers probably is what this squad is made of, the India squad for the series against South Africa. But on this, that kind of, in terms of Indian cricket, we can always go on chatting about things, but here we have to put a break. And let's move to the segment that, we'd asked some of the fans to ask some questions. We've taken some of them. So on this edition of The Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia, let's go to the fan question segment. All right, first one on the screen, Radha Lad Gupta asks us, how do you reckon exclusions of such crucial players impact the current players, if at all? So do you think that affect the mindset of the younger people who are in the squad, Ananya?
I think we'd be lying to say that I don't think it didn't affect them. I'm sure it affected them. We're all human, and it was a surprising call. But I think what would have helped the group is that they all went into isolation ahead of this, ahead of their training. So they kind of probably had time to kind of let it sink in, calm down, and refocus. And I'm sure the leadership group in that Indian team would have made it very clear in the first couple of practice sessions that we're here for a reason. We're here to to win this series, to get our season back on track. So I'm sure they're now over it. Look, we'd be lying if we said that it didn't affect them. When I first saw the squad, I was taken back to 2011, 2013, when there were a lot of these calls, unexplained, illogical calls, and there was a sense of insecurity amongst the players of whether they would make it or not, because these are clearly not performance-based calls, but I'm sure they are professional enough to have put it behind them and will be looking ahead to the series.
Yeah, fair point. And while we speak, there's been an earthquake in New Zealand which has struck at the magnitude of 7.3 Richter scale. So hope people are safe there. Hope there are not much lives lost. And it's strange that they were the first to get rid of COVID, but then it came back in Auckland, forcing them to go into a lockdown, forcing matches to be held behind closed doors. There's also 2 games tomorrow, the women's second T20I and the men's fourth T20I as well. So hope the lives are safe, hope people are safe, our thoughts and prayers with them. Let's move on to the next fan question. Ritvika Dhar, she asked that which bowlers from both the sides can utilize the conditions there better. It remains to be seen what kind of pitches, what kind of conditions will be there. But who are the bowlers to watch out for?
Well, I mean, like you said, I think the conditions are anyone's guess. We're not really sure what they're going to be like. But, if you ask who the bowlers to look out for, you can't really go beyond Kaap, Ismail and Jhulan Goswami in the seam department. And then, of course, there are India's spinners, the spin trio of Rajeshwari, Gaikwad, Poonam Yadav and Deepti Sharma. So India's spinners are the kind who can generate turn on any surface. I'm sure Lucknow, there will be some assistance for the spinners. So, and I think with the early start, it's probably likely that the seamers who get the first use of the new ball will probably get a bit of movement. So that's going. I think if Kaap and Ismail get the ball early, they're probably going to be a handful. So I think it depends on when the bowlers bowl, but yeah, I'm not really sure what the conditions are going to be. If you go by what the test matches are, probably going to turn from the start. So Ismail and Kaap are going to come in and bowl cutters, but I'm hoping that's not the case.
He also asked if toss could be a factor there. I know we are far from Lucknow, but what do you reckon?
I mean, I don't think so. I think in white ball cricket it rarely is, because the conditions don't change too much over the course of those 100 overs. So I don't think the toss will be too crucial, because again, it's not a day-night game, so there's no thing of dew later in the day. So I don't think the toss will be very crucial.
All right, here's the next one. Parishi26_J asks, what are going to be the key strategies for Indian batters against the opening duo of Kaap and Ismail? That is the battle everybody is going to look forward to. And we'll also wait and see which of the openers get unscathed against this opening bowling pair. So your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to use an old cliche, which is they're going to have to mix caution with aggression. And, I say that because I think both Kaap and Ismail, of course, we all know are world-class bowlers. You look at Marizan Kaap's record in India, and clearly she knows how to get wickets on these surfaces. But I think the thing with Shabnam Ismail is that she's such an aggressive bowler that she's always going to provide you with scoring opportunities. I think it's important for India's openers or India's top order to make sure that they take full toll of those scoring opportunities and kind of make sure that South Africa are on the back foot when they're given the chance to score. So I think that's going to be key. And as a seamer, opening the bowling or bowling whenever, I don't think the boundaries hurt you or irritate you as much as those singles. When a batter gets off strike, especially when they tap and run or kind of nudge it into a gap, that's more irritating. And I see that irritating Marizan Cup a lot, especially if Smriti Mandana and Jemima Rodriguez open. Both of them are very good runners between the wickets, left-right combination. So just to get off strike, keep turning that over. I think that'll definitely help India.
Right, here's the next one by Cricktopher17, who asks, why wasn't Shafali Verma tried for ODIs for an attacking start or finish? The moment she made her T20 debut, everybody wanted her everywhere, every possible spot, every possible game. Your thoughts on Shafali missing out on the ODI squad, because we saw her last play the List A games in Australia ahead of the World Cup last year, score that blazing ton. So is it still time that Shafali Verma, is there time for her to make the 50-over squad, or should they kind of breed her in pretty quickly?
Look, very honestly, I'm not surprised that she didn't make the squad. I think if you're looking at an extended squad, I would have thought that she may have made the 20 or something like that. But I'm not surprised that she's not in the ODI mix of things just yet. We need to remember that Shafali Verma is just 17 years old. So she's got a long career ahead of her. She's doing very well in T20 cricket. And yes, she did have a bit of success in Australia. She scored a brilliant ton that kind of headline that win for India. But I think she still needs to kind of figure out her game at in the one day format, because she yes, it's one thing to say, okay, she's going to go and break open the first 10 overs, but we need to remember that India has a very settled opening pair in ODIs. I think Jemima and Smriti are doing exceptionally well in the ODI format. So to break that up is a question whether you want to do that, especially so close to a World Cup. I think Shafali kind of hasn't had the same success in one-day domestic cricket as well. She hasn't been able to be as effective as she is in T20 cricket. So I think there is still time for her to go back and figure out how she wants to pace her innings, how she wants to play that format. Because of course there is space for openers like her, as Alyssa Healy and Liz Ali have shown. But I think she still has a lot to learn, and I'm sure going ahead, looking forward to the 2025 World Cup, she's definitely going to be a key figure there. But I think I don't see India kind of breaking up that batting order at the moment.
On that note, what do you expect India's first opening combination? The first one-day international to be? Jemmy, Smriti, and there's also Priya Punya who opened the last time. So what's your take at this point?
I'm going to say Smriti Mandana and Jemima Rodriguez. I think both of them will open, and probably Poonam Raut batting at 3. I don't think that's going to change.
Fair point. And Harmanpreet Kaur as well as WB Raman at various points have said that leave Shafali Verma, the youngster, alone. So we do that. Let's move on to the next one. Karthik KO Cricket 528 asks, is there in particular a player that we should all watch out for? There are so many of these unknown players filled with style, performances, etc. But who's the one you're going to pick?
I think I mentioned this earlier. I'm very excited to see Radha Yadav play the 50-over format. I think she's got a lot to offer as an all-round option. I'm also very, very excited, if you've seen my Twitter feed, to see the return of Hemlata Dayalan. I think, again, she has a cover drive that rivals Laura Woolward. So I hope she gets a long run. But if we're talking about new players, probably in the ODI team, someone like Yastika Bhatia, I think, like I said, it was a foregone conclusion that she would play international cricket if you watched her through. So I'm really excited to see her in that squad. And if she gets a game, it'll be nice to see her succeed. So I think she's someone to look for, even if not right now, in the future. I think she's going to be a key member of that India batting line.
Right, there you go. Here's the last one for this edition. Cricktopher17 yet again asks, did we focus only on the batting while selecting the wicket keeper?
Honest answer would be no. Because if you look at, I know Sushma Verma and Nuzhat Parveen have the numbers backing them, but Shweta Verma clearly doesn't. 18 matches, 177 runs, that's It's clearly not. She's not picked for her batting. So the straight answer would be no. We haven't.
Question also tells us that we as Indians are a batting country, so we always look out for that. But that's it from this edition of the Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia. Hope you enjoyed the squad analysis of India's squad analysis for the series against South Africa. Remember, tomorrow, that is 5th of March, 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, 3:30 if you'll be watching us from South Africa. We'll be previewing the ODI series, so do keep an eye out for that. And we'll also at some point analyze the South African squad. So don't forget to tune in at that time. We sure will ask for your questions as well, even for that episode. So that's it from this edition of the Outside View Live, powered by Vespa and Aprilia. Before we sign off, here's another look at that SXR 160. See you tomorrow.
You're late.
Don't just live life, maxify it.